Hi, in today's video, I'm going to do a brief introduction on our basic graphic library, which is actually a graphic collection or a set of graphic collection for you to quickly, rapidly create nice, dazzling graphics for your control system application. To access the help or menu for the graphic collection, just click on Help, Documentation, Basic Graphic Library. Clicking on the Basic Graphic Library PDF will actually show you or open the PDF file containing the user guide to the basic graphic library. Browsing through the library, you will find documentation for all the objects or graphical objects that can be drag and drop into your project files. And this documentation also includes all the properties you can set as well as the events or functions that is available for that object. Now, let me show you what are some of the objects that is available for you to use. Let's look at the basic buttons collection where we have inserted earlier, and we have inserted a push button earlier. So a push button will generate a push event as and when the user presses on the button. And long press button will generate an event based on whether the user does a long press on the button or a short press. So the time to define the long press or short press is signified here. So the short press time here is 0.4 seconds, meaning that a time exceeding 0.4 seconds will be a long press. And the time before 0.4 seconds will be a short press. So we do events on press, and now we try to do a debug print on this process. And you'll find that there is a parameter being passed into the process. The parameter is called short press. And this short press Boolean variable will actually contain the status of whether the button press is a short press or a long press. So if it's not a short press, it's a long press. Alright, so simple as that. So let's go to the command section. Go under debugs, and there is a command called debug print. Drag and drop the debug print into the system and do a copy on the short press and paste it in. So a debug print is a command that will show that will print out the content of a variable of constant inside its parameter. Let's do a test simulation. Let's do a short press. Press and release. So you will see the debug message is true, which means that this Boolean variable returns a true. So if you press and hold, you will become a false. So basically, when the time exceeded 0.4 seconds, this process will actually be executed with the short press giving you a false as its value. Alright, now let's look at other buttons. We have radio buttons. And what radio buttons does is that it allows for grouping of a button. Let's say if you have a group of radio buttons, when you click on one button, the rest of the other buttons that is not clicked and within the same group will actually pop up. So allowing you to select only one button at any one time. So let's try to do a grouping of this button. The grouping is done by the join group, the joint property. So let's create another join called button. And copy, you may copy by pressing copy, by selecting copy from the menu and right click, paste, and you will paste this button into the window, stop and start again. And when you press on it, as you can see, the button actually pops up and pops down based on the button press. Alright, next, a repeat button. As the name implies, the repeat button, when you use the repeat button, this button will continuously trigger an event based on the repeat interval. So if you set the repeat interval to 0.4, so what you will do is that you will continuously trigger the repeat event. So the event actually for the button is on repeat. Click on it, and let's do a test again. Click, drag and drop the debug print into it, and we will debug print a repeat state, a string called repeat. Alright, so what you will do is that when you press and hold, the repeat will keep appearing on the debug window. So the functionality of this button allows you to create a ramping function. Let's say you have a certain, maybe we have an amplifier which accepts an infrared command called volume up to actually volume up the amplifier. And when you do this, when you use the repeat button and when you press and hold on the repeat button, a volume up command will be constantly being sent to the AV receiver. Alright, so what you need to do here is to replace this command simply with a volume up or volume down command from the AV receiver. Okay, so this is for volume ramping application. Alright, let's look at other buttons. We have also got toggle button. What toggle button does is that it will toggle up and down. Just start it. So one press you'll go down, the other press you'll go up. Alright, so this is the functionality of the toggle button. Next, a two-state push button. A two-state push button will be similar to a toggle button in the sense that it accepts a feedback value for the, a two-state toggle button will be similar to a push button, except for the fact that for two-state toggle button, there are functions that allows you to actually set the button to be up or down, alright, or rather it allows you to customize or set the state of a button. So you look at the two-state push button, there is a command called set state up and set state down. This command will allow you to set the state of the button to pressed or depressed, unpressed. Alright, so now we have covered roughly the buttons. Alright, so now previously we have created a navigation bar to link to a window, alright, in previous videos. So now let's create another full screen window. Double click on the window. Create another window by drag and dropping a full screen window into the system, and going back to the navigation bar, linking the button number 2 to the window. How do we do that? So button number 2 is here, it's already set as AV. So we go back to the full screen window that we have created. We can go back to the touch panel windows and full screen windows 2. Click on the join. Select join 2 as main, and navigation bar number, the button number set to 2. Okay, start here. Then when you click on AV, you will hop to the next page. Alright, so in this new page, what we are going to do is that we are going to insert some new graphic objects. Insert bar graph. Drag and drop a vertical bar graph into the system and you will see a bar graph. This bar graph is actually an object a bar graph is an object for showing levels. And these levels is read-only. You are unable to set the levels. So to set a level, you need another type of object called sliders. So let's insert a slider into the system. So basic sliders, double click on it. You have the basic sliders in, and I'll drag and drop a horizontal slider. Increase the length. So you do a simulation. So we have created a slider. Alright. How to link the value of the slider to the bar graph. I want to slide this one and the value of the bar graph changes accordingly. How do I do that? Stop it. Right click on the slider, go to events, on value change. Click on it. You have the process open for you. And what do I want to change? I want to change the vertical bar graph's value. So I click on the vertical bar graph at my project instance window and go to set value command. Drag and drop this set value command from the vertical bar graph into the system and double click on the new value to select it. Alright, so this new value that is passed in as a parameter to the process will actually contain the new value of the slider. Paste it in, start simulation, go to AV, and you have linked up the functionality of this slider to the value. And note, however, when I slide this, the value on the slider itself does not change. So how do I synchronize it so that it changes? So just go back to full screen window 2, click on go to the auto set value property and set it to true. Start simulation again and go back to the AV button, and now the value will be automatically set as well. Alright, so now we have covered the functionality of the slider. Alright. No, however, this does not limit the functionality of the system. In fact, if you want to do feedback for actual live feedback for the system, what you could do is to link the slider. Instead of linking it straight to the bar graph, you can run a function or command on a device driver, and the device driver can set the real value of the slider into the device. And that device driver, if it's written properly, will contain an event which you can trigger, and this event will be triggered as and when a new value is received on the device. And with the event, you can actually update the vertical bar graph by setting the value to the new value from the device itself. So what does this mean? This means that automatically, whenever you set any value to the device, if there's a panel that's being attached to the controller, that panel will receive this feedback value and the bar graph will automatically be set to the panel. So with this, we have actually created a feedback system. Alright. So let's go back to full screen window 2. Alright. We will illustrate that in future programming. Right. Now let's look at other collections. We can also insert collections like date and time. Alright, we should give you analog clock. A good looking analog clock for the system. Alright. There are plenty of fantastic looking graphic collection that you can use for your programming. Okay, another one we have here is maybe knobs. Drag and drop the analog knob into the system. And what this analog knob does is similar to slider, but instead of sliding it, you will be turning it. Okay, so what you will do is that start simulation again, click on it. So the analog knob, you can actually turn it by sliding the knob. Alright. How to link it to the bar graph? Similarly, right click event on value change. Set the new value to the bar graph by doing a copy and paste. Now you will link the value of on the knob to the bar graph. Alright. Now we have covered a simple demonstration or introduction to the basic graphic library. And now I would like to end this session. Goodbye.